A lot of people just look at Captain John as some lazy failed pirate from back in the day when Oda first showed him on Thriller Bark, but that was far from the truth when Oda revealed he was one of the strongest members of the strongest crew to ever exist in One Piece, led by Roxy Zebek, Roger's greatest foe. It took Monkey D. Garp and Roger in their primes teaming up to take him down. Then there's Edward Newgate, who, let's be honest here, we saw his power on Marineford, the world's strongest man, who in his prime fought Roger for 3 straight dates and 3 straight nights. There's also Golden Line Shiki, who destroyed half Marineford and was the first man to ever escape from Impel Down. He was fighting a prime Garp and a prime Sengoku at Marineford, so I gotta give him credit for that. There's also Charlotte Linlin, who in her young days was very skinny, very agile. If anything, you could say that was her prime in her young days compared to what we saw in Wano. Kaido, before he was the strongest creature alive, he was an apprentice on the Rock's crew. Kind of a good resume, like, yo, that's the reason why he became the strongest creature alive. There's Ochoku, who ran Pirate Island Beehive, and it took the Rocky Port incident of Blackbeard, Kobe, and Law and that shenanigans to actually get him out of there. There's also Glorissa, who was Amazon Lily's empress, and we saw how strong Boa Hancock is, so being an empress of Amazon Lily means you're the strongest on that island. There's also Stussy, where we saw a preview of her powers on Egghead Island when she took out Kaku and Lucci with her Delphoid ability, so that mythical zone hacks was very valuable on the Rock's crew. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is Captain John is legit. His stocks went flying through the roof when it was revealed that he was a part of the Rock's crew, and this deep dive has more to do with his treasure because I think it actually is a bigger picture in the One Piece story, so let me explain. Look close at Captain John's stomach. He has several slashes in his belly and 2 swords sticking right out. These were the marks left when his crew killed him for keeping the treasure a secret from them. John died, and the location of the treasure became a legend lost forever. Ichiro Oda. When Oda is explaining how a character died, not in the manga but outside the manga, it really shows that there's something interesting of why he didn't want to reveal this treasure. Captain John's treasure is not your basic treasure, and nothing in One Piece is basic, but his treasure, there's more to it because he risked his life for this treasure. He died for this treasure, so it has to be a big deal. And people think Captain John is just like a new thing, like recently when the Rocks got introduced. No. Back in the days, in the early chapters of One Piece, chapter 233 to be exact, that's when Captain John was first mentioned, and there was a legendary cave that Captain John left his treasure on. And of course, it makes me think, what if this legendary cave wasn't that island that they were searching on, but more so, what if it was the underground of Wano, where we saw Pluton and the City of Gold? And when you see the island that Buggy is searching for Captain John's treasure, it looks very similar. It's very eerie how it looks similar to Onigashima. It has that huge skull on the island, just like how Onigashima has a huge skull on it. And it makes me think, was Oda foreshadowing how Wano was the place where the great treasure was? And honestly, we see with Big Mom when she was falling down, she was thinking about Roger. And like, honestly, I feel like Sengoku talking to Akainu about Wano, like Wano is a legit place. I wouldn't be surprised if Captain John was in Wano because Moria took Ryuma from Wano and the Shisui. So there could be a synchronicity here. And then of course there's the Korozumi situation of how she even said like she had the Bon Clay Delphi, and so she can turn into Shiki. She teamed up with Kaido through the Rocks era. So I'm telling you guys right now, there's a lot of ties to Wano. It's a very spooky theory right here. I think Buggy wanted the treasure because something he heard from his days on the Roger Pirates. Let's be honest here. Everyone knows that Roger Pirates had some sort of crazy weapon mentioned by Shiki during the Ed War. So the fact that Captain John was a crew member of Shiki, like was a fellow crew member of Shiki, does add some credence to what I'm talking about right now. Might I add, Oda foreshadowed Buggy's legendary past through this Captain John treasure. Like Oda transforms us, or I can't really say transform, but pretty much transitions us to Buggy looking for this treasure, and then out of nowhere Oda reveals that Buggy used to be on the Grand Line and was a legit pirate back in the days. So for those saying it's just a coincidence, I don't think Oda does things for just a coincidence. Fast forward always to the Bark. This is where we actually get an up close and personal look at Captain John, Wakanda, where Absalom unleashes these warriors of ancient times, and it's 3 of the Rock's pirates. Now the other 2 characters we don't get a name, and I'm not going to give them a name because we already know that Ochoku was alive at this time, so it's not Wang Ji. It has to be either Silver Axe. I think it's either Silver Axe. So one of these 2 other characters is Silver Axe, but I'm assuming he's the big guy who was in the actual Rocks. Like he was a forefront of the Rocks crew, not the guy with multiple arms. But regardless, yes, in this episode or chapter in Thriller Bark, we get to see Captain John. We get to know his name, and it was hype. Absalom then tells Captain John, don't be a slowpoke. Your infamous rep all over the world is crying. Like, the fact that Absalom only tells this Rocks Pirate, not the other two Rocks Pirate, shows that Captain John is actually famous, like infamous to another level. Like, his power is respected. And in my opinion, this guy was one of the top tiers back in the days. Like, I think people are really underestimating how strong Captain John is. When we fast forward towards the end of Thriller Bark, Oda gave Luffy the map to Captain John's treasure without Luffy actually knowing what it was after Thriller Bark. Like, Luffy finds his armband and he thinks it's neat, and even Nami's like, yeah, you can have it because there's no gems on it. So it's showing that Oda really wants to downplay Captain John's treasure, but he keeps on mentioning it. So what's the deal here? We even saw a situation of Buggy. He's about to ditch Luffy and then pull down until he notices the map and is in complete shock on his face. Like, he saw it, looked like he saw a ghost. Like, honestly, Buggy was around during Captain John's era, so, and his time being a former Roger pirate, Buggy definitely ran into Captain John a few times in my opinion. So it seems like there's something more to this treasure that we don't know about. It even got so bad that Buggy begins to beg his mortal enemy of Luffy, and even offers to show where Ace is. Like, Buggy, I've never seen him act like this, yo. To showing that this treasure, Oda trying to show us that, yeah, this treasure is legit because Buggy's going crazy over it. But the same guy who didn't even go for the One Piece and wanted to go team up with Shanks because he knew he wouldn't be Pirate King, but now he believes in all of a sudden because of Cross Guild and Miyok and Crocodile. But let's not get too sidebarred. Luffy even notices Buggy being nice all of a sudden, and Buggy says out loud it's because Luffy's gonna give him the treasure mark to Captain John's treasure, and Buggy slips up here, which he trips out a little bit. Like, did Luffy hear? But Buggy even thinks, yo, the cat's out the bag, yo, I'm done. Like, Luffy now knows my agenda, my hidden agenda. Buggy is actually ecstatic that Luffy doesn't notice and makes this mistake of thinking he's an idiot. And this is what I try to tell fans all the time. Yes, Luffy's an idiot, but he's very intuitive and notices patterns, and he's not like it's not like his brain is empty, yo. Luffy is still thinking. It's just the thing is he doesn't really think before he says things. And Luffy shocks him by saying, so this armband is a treasure map. Buggy's about to attack Luffy with anger because he's thinking, oh man, this guy now, the cat's out the bag, he knows. When Luffy just gives it to him with ease, this shocks Buggy because he can just leave now. Like, logically, Luffy wasn't really thinking logically, but what he was doing is really pulling at the heartstrings here emotionally, which is not a smart thing to do intellectually wise. But that's why I say Luffy's an idiot. But the same reason why we love Luffy is the same reason why he's an idiot. It got to the point where even Buggy got emotional. He started crying because of Luffy's kindness. But in the end, he still wants to snake him. But I think Oda wants us to foreshadow maybe Cross Guild and the Straw Hats teaming up for Captain John's treasure and how it could actually be connected to the One Piece. Which I think this treasure has to be important to the overall story, unless Oda was just doing this all for fun. And I think Oda's not really like that. Like I feel like even looking at Togashi's story, Togashi does a lot of like things just for fun, in my opinion. Like, he does not really overall connect to the story. He just likes adding details to his story. I think Oda's not really like that in a sense. I think Oda, if he's adding a detail, pay attention to it. And like I said, yo, when the Rock's crew was first mentioned by Sengoku teaching the young Marines, Son Goku just says, yo, it's not just the Yonko that was on Rox's crew. It's not just Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido. There was also Shiki, the Golden Lion. There was also Captain John, Silver Axe, Wang Ji, or otherwise known as Ochaku. Like, there were some monsters on this crew, and Sengoku giving respect to Captain John here, who went on to carve a name for himself. This is a big deal. And even recently in Egghead Island, we got a mini little God Valley flashback where we see the multiple arms guy that we saw in Thriller Bark, the zombie. He's actually a part of the Rock's crew, and his face is highlighted there too. We see also there's a fishman, there's Trusin, there's Stussy, there's Clarissa, like, which is all cool. And then we see Captain John, and he says, that's my treasure. So Captain John is really standing on business here when he's right next to Whitebeard, Shiki, Big Mom, Kaido. Yeah, this guy is really confident in his power. And when Stussy says today's the final fight with Roger's crew, Captain John replies, that's the idea. With the other two Thriller Bark zombies right next to Captain John in this panel, to me, Captain John had to be under Rocks in power. He's not like same level as Rocks. He's not same level as Whitebeard or Shiki or Big Mom. And I think even maybe Kaido might be stronger than him. But after that, I think Captain John is one of the top tiers of the Rock's crew. I think he's a top commander of Rock's crew because he carved out a name for himself after too, and we have to respect it. So this is why I made this video. I believe Captain John got his main treasure maybe through God Valley, and it's connected to Emu, the Void Sentry, Celestial Dragons, all that, with Saturn being on God Valley and Figureland Garden being on there. The God Valley is an interesting island. In some way, this could also be connected to Moria getting Ryuma's body from Wano, so it actually could be connected to Wano, and the treasure can actually be Wano. It could be Pluton for all we know. It could be part of the City of Gold. Like, there's something here that we need to look at. I think Captain John is either God Valley or Wano. It's either these two legendary places, and with you have to understand too the City of Gold and Skypiea and the connection to the Void Sentry, where Cross Guild, Blackbeard, and Luffy will all battle for this treasure. I think after Elbaf, we might even see this treasure be a main thing in the story. Like I could just see the Cross Guild and Luffy teaming up, and then Blackbeard trying to get the ancient weapons because of Caribou, and then we find out there's also Captain John's treasure connected to this as well. There's so many things that Oda can do, but I just know, Captain John, you will cause chaos because of the treasure, so you're not dying for no reason. You are a legend, and you will be a part of the final saga. And that's why I had to make a video on Captain John. I had to respect where respect is due, and people are not underrating this guy. He's actually legit.